In StarCraft, when you want to create a new drone, you would do it by clicking on this guy and then clicking to create the drone. Now he immediately turns into this cocoon, and you can give the cocoon a move command, but he's not actually a drone yet. So he goes into this proxy that can accept commands for the drone. So once the drone is created, he'll move to where you told him to move to. Now let's look at that again real quick. So we'll create a new drone. He switches into this cocoon, which can accept a move, but it also changes visually into this cocoon state. And then once he's created, he will move to where you told him to move to, even though he wasn't created yet. Let's see how the proxy pattern can address that similar situation. If I wanted to take the easy way out of this tutorial, I would just show you the loader class in ActionScript. Loader is something you probably use all the time already, and you just didn't know that it actually leverages the proxy pattern. You can see here that loader extends display object container. Why in the world would a class called loader extend or be a display object container? That's simply so that it can act as a proxy for these images or SWF that it loads. So for example, you create the loader, and then I'll scroll down here for the example. You can assign things like a mask to the loader before the image or the SWF has loaded. That way it allows you to interact or do the same things you would do to the SWF or the image before it's created. That is essentially what the proxy pattern allows you to do. Now, since I'm not going to take the cheap way out, I will show you the StarCraft example. The structure of the proxy pattern is actually really simple. There's three pieces to it. One is the interface, and then there's two classes which will both implement that interface. So our drone class, which is the subject of our example, will implement Zerg, and the cocoon class will also implement Zerg, but it'll also have an instance of the drone. So if we look at what a Zerg interface looks like, it'll just have move, meaning that anything that implements Zerg has to be able to move. So if we look at our drone, you'll see this really clean, simple class. It just draws the graphics of the drone, and then whenever you tell the drone to move, it'll tween to the X and Y position that you tell it to move to. This class is really clean and does only what it needs to do, what it's supposed to do. Now this cocoon class, which is our proxy, has this logic which lets you act on the drone before it's created. So that's called a virtual proxy, acting on something before it's created. So you can see here, when we tell the cocoon to move, it's actually going to check to see if the drone is created. If it's not created, instead of telling it to move, it's going to set a rally point, which will tell the drone to move later. So to take a step back, when the cocoon is created, it's going to start a timer. Just for this example, usually it's more something like loading an image or something that's more expensive to create. But to make this simple, it's just a timer. And once the timer is done, then the drone will be created. And once the drone is created, it'll check to see if you created a rally point. You created a rally point if you told him to move and the drone wasn't created yet. And then the drone will be told to move. And then from then on, whenever you tell the cocoon to move, it's just going to forward on that call onto the drone. Now our base class here, and you can see that once our SWF starts up, it's going to have two event listeners, one being whenever you press a key, it's going to create the drone, which is going to be proxy through the cocoon. And then once you click anywhere, it's going to tell the drone to move. Now, two things here. This drone, since it wouldn't be created immediately, wouldn't be able to be added to the stage. Also, since it wouldn't be created immediately, you wouldn't be able to tell it to move. But since we're doing this all through a proxy, we can do both of those things. Of note here, you do have to cast this to a display object because ActionScript does not have an interface that allows you to add things to the stage. You have to actually cast this as a display object class. That's just a unfortunate part of ActionScript. So let's see this run. And once our project runs and I hit the spacebar, I'll click. You can see that he turned green after 3 seconds, and then he moved to where I clicked. And then any subsequent clicks, he will move to where I'm clicking. Now to see that again, run it again. I'll press the spacebar, he'll be created, I'll click, and then once he's done being created, he will move to where I clicked. So the proxy is allowing me to interact with the actual drone or the subject before he's created. You can see that he's added to the stage and it's gray. Once he's created, he turns green. I can click and tell him to move before he's created, and once he's created, he will actually move. So that's the proxy pattern in a nutshell, and I hope that helps.